Hi, everyone. Welcome to the GoldFish Report. I'm your host, Louisa. And this is continuing with our Uniting the Light series of exopolitics interviews and roundtables. We have another, I would say, disclosure, galactic type roundtable discussing disclosure, first contact, and all things related to that, including the secret space program. And of course, joining me today to help me with this is my co-host, Steve. How are you, Steve?
Hi, everybody. Good to be here. Looking forward.
And we're also going to welcome our panel now, which is we have COBRA joining us from the resistance movement. COBRA is the spokesperson from the resistance movement, and a returning friend and guest of the GoldFish Report. Welcome back, COBRA.
Yes, hello. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. And of course, we have with us a new member of our roundtable discussions, the owner of Usetti Ranch and in Mount Adams, and we have James Gilliland joining us. How are you, James? Welcome.
Doing great.
Looking good down there.
Yeah. Hopefully everything holds up. You know, if you hear barking dogs and bombs going off and loud music, just remember I'm in Mexico.
Okay, we have, we're all over the world, folks, so we're going to bear with us. We've had already some problems with our connections. We also have with us our blogger friend and all things apocalyptic, Quila Pele. How are you, KB?
Oh, thank you. Aloha. I just noticed as you say that, it's 11:11 a.m. over here. 1111. So
that's a blessing.
Yes, nothing's going on over here. So you can just bypass me if you need to. So
except that missile launch and those beam ships. We'll get to those.
Yeah.
And of course
right.
we have our lovely co-host of our Country Roads on GoldFish Report with us, joining us today. We have Winston Shrout with us. How are you, Winston?
Well, I'm doing okay. I'll speak in my native tongue and just say, how y'all?
How y'all? Yeah, okay. Now we're going to get started. We have a lot to talk about, and so what we're going to start with, since James, this is the first time that James is joining us on one of our roundtables, we're going to start with James, and what we're going to start with is you recently had said that, I guess you made a public statement that the Pleiadians were in charge of ascension. Would you like to explain that?
Well, basically, not so much ascension, but they have more genetic stock on the Earth than any other group. And so they've had meetings at these other high councils. There's so many different councils out there, but they're all in agreement just because of the vested interest here. They were major terraformers in the past that they're kind of like the scepter's been charged, given to them. But it's not just them. You've got the Orion Council of Light that have already gone through all the wars and the reptilian wars and they're coming here to help liberate the planet. And you've got the Syrians, which were the protectors of the gods. The benevolent Anunnaki are returning to take care of the fallen Anunnaki, and the Andromedans and Arcturians. And so, it's a major alignment. I'm sure there's a lot more out there helping out, but those are the major ones that we've been in contact with. And they're all focused on, universal law and, kind of restoring the Earth and liberating humanity from what some call the Archon network or the Draconian grid, whatever you want to call it. That's pressing that higher consciousness, those higher dimensions are pressing hard in on the Earth. The old grid is collapsing and the Earth herself is ascending. And so whatever's in the middle, is resistance is futile. You have to evolve. It's not optional. And so we have to become frequencies specific to this process. And that's basically what they've been telling us. And also too, I guess we'll go into that later, but I'm really concerned about this new disclosure thing. It just looks like the old disclosure with the same players, and it's it's going to fall very short of what's really going on.
Okay, well, I want to ask COBRA if you can just respond to that. And by the way, our guests have their own resources and their own contacts, and it's not about competing information. It's about people that have different aspects of the plan, perhaps. So let me ask COBRA about this whole idea of the Pleiadians being. Is there something that have we shifted to a new level in this liberation process?
Yes, exactly. It is absolutely true that the Pleiadians have started cooperating, or shall we say, they were involved since November last year. They're involved in this special operation Mjolnir, which means liberating planet Earth no matter what. And they are part of the alliance that started to clear everything without exceptions, because they could not stand the suffering anymore. And status of situation, extent of removal of toplet bombs, various situations, situation was simply ready. And they have joined the alliance, and they are one of the leading forces in the planetary liberation, especially since November last year. So I can confirm this completely.
Okay, your latest post talked about the Hammer of Thor. So do you want to explain that a little bit and how that's part of this, exactly what that's referring? That's what you just said, but I mean, how are they going to do that? What's changed? Are you saying that we're further down in lower Earth orbit, that there's more of a, it's more of an obvious standoff or something, or is that what you're talking about?
Basically, Hammer of Thor is a code name for a special advanced technology of the light forces, which they use to clear up everything all the massive dark forces did. So they will clear everything without exception, and things that are closer to the surface of the planet in low Earth orbit are a little bit more visible to humanity because they are so close. So operations that are taking place in lower orbit are a little bit more visible, and there might be strange effects in the sky. This Hawaii situation with the Hawaii missile, all this is part of this process.
Okay, I wanted to just screen share really quick this KP's blog because, well, KP, you were there in Hawaii when this happened, but of course you said you were sleeping. So
That's 8:07. No way. I'm
no
up
way.
at that moment, but
Yeah, exactly. But here's an
I was
image.
at peace.
Well, you posted this on your blog. Do you want to explain what we're looking at?
Well, this was from another person's website. I think it was from.
Sorry, I thought they were going to be
okay,
enlarged.
hold on a second.
Here they are. I've got it.
I'm scrolling. Solaris Modalis, who this person sent me by email. He or she sent me this, and actually, when I look more closely at the photo, it actually appears there's one of the photos shows there's a tip of Diamond Head that you can see in the upper photo. At the very bottom, you can see the tip. That's Diamond Head. That's a crater, but it's a very well-known crater. So these lights were showing up right over Diamond Head. So the KHON is a news station in Honolulu, and very likely they had a crew out there and they were taking images towards Diamond Head. And of course, I'm looking at this and I say, well, what, in a way, what a great way to kind of bring something to disclosure, because Diamond Head is so famous. And of course, everybody on the islands knows that that's Diamond Head. If you can see the whole picture, which you can't, but they can see the tip of Diamond Head.
But there was some relationship to these appearing with the missile. Is this correct?
Yeah. Well, this appeared at 9:16 a.m. and of course the missile alert was sent out at 8:07.
Okay.
And so I was. She was explaining that it was connected with. Let's see. With the. She kind of explained that. She put 4 steps that the incoming missile was noted, alert sent out, and steps were taken, and all this and all that. And then the galactic presence or cosmic presence intervened and deactivated whatever the incoming missile. Now, I've seen other. She's saying that the UFOs kind of stood guard, and I've also seen that I've seen a couple other stories that said that this was something like where the missile was coming in, but it was deactivated. But also it was a chance for. I also saw another website where it's like, well, this was a chance for them to for the good guys to get in and get into the complexes in Hawaii and take out all the information that they needed about, probably to finish up the job. So anyway, that was another part of it too.
Does anyone want to comment on these ships and who they may belong to? James or COBRA, or I don't know if Winston is it?
Yes, they belong to Galactic Confederation because the Galactic Confederation is constantly monitoring low Earth orbit and anything that happens here, and if there is any danger for the surface of the planet, they intervene, and they have intervened in this occasion because.
Mention one thing.
Hold on a second.
The other thing, the other thing that's connected to this is that the reason it just all seems connected was that there are some couple of reports, pretty reasonably reliable reports, including a voice. I talked with someone who knows travel people, and he said, "Well, did you know that at least that Bill Clinton was here?" And it's like, well, I did not know that, but then I found this website on Facebook that Hawaii News Now, or not that one, but Big Island News, something like. Anyway, it had a photo. Not that it necessarily means it was now, but the date was, I think it was like the 13th to the 14th, when Bill Clinton was here from the 12th until the 15th. Now, all these things happening at the same time, is that a coincidence? I will not answer that, but.
Well, let me just point out that I did, in my POTUS report on Monday with Jim Fetzer, I did find an association with the post on January 7th from Q, Anon, who's posting on 8chan, who had a DEFCON 1 post in his post, a message, and then on the 13th, that's when this happened. So his posts always say future proves past, so it seems like there was some foreknowledge of this. James, do you know about that?
Well, I'm looking at these ships. They look very similar to the ships that we film all the time. And the Federation ships are a lot of different ships. It looks like multiple ships here maybe. But what I've seen over and over again is that all the ships are a little bit different. Some of the plating ships have kind of a pinkish color to them. The Orion Council of Light ships look more orange. They have are gold. They're more gold. The Syrian ships are gold. A lot of times you can tell by the colors, which group, but a lot of them have multiple beings on them. I mean, some of the beings are very humanoid and some are very different. Some have feline beings on them and things like that. So it could be, who knows who's on the ship, but, because the Federation is a big consortium of a lot of different groups, that are on these ships, and they share their technology.
Okay. I also have another screen share of a video from, let's see, this is a recent report from Sheldon Neidl, I think. And what this is showing is that he says this is a Syrian ship, and maybe COBRA can comment, or if anybody would like to, feel free to comment. This is a Syrian ship, according to Sheldon Neidl. Can you confirm that, COBRA?
I cannot confirm that. The only thing I can confirm is that he has contact with the Syrians, but for this particular ship, I cannot confirm it's a Syrian ship.
Okay, it just has some, it's not identical to the one that we just saw, but okay. Yeah. So moving along from the, so COBRA, do you have? I think you may have also posted that was not a false alarm on your recent.
No, I will explain. Yes. As you might know, there is a full-scale war in low Earth orbit now, and one of the negative factions sent a missile to Hawaii as part of this war, and the Galactics intercepted the missile because they are monitoring the Earth's surface all the time. If they see any danger to the surface, they of course intercept that danger and destroy it. And the alarm was genuine, and it was not a false alarm, but it was cancelled because the threat was removed.
But why would there be a correlation with the Q post in that it was? What does that tell you, COBRA? Does that, or Winston? Did you have? What does it tell you?
That one is not connected with this particular situation.
Because that's what it means, though. DEFCON 1 means, from what I understand, that it's a nuclear imminent missile attack. Am I?
Yes, but this was not a nuclear missile attack.
Okay.
It's related to a another completely different situation.
Okay.
What was the situation?
There is some tension between North Korea and other countries, and this tension from moment to moment is quite high. Although I can guarantee there will be no nuclear exchange, because as I said, the galactic forces are monitoring this and will not allow full-scale or any large nuclear escalation on the surface of the planet.
Let me
But this does not mean that it doesn't mean that there is no higher state of alert, because there is. In the military circles, when there is a higher state of alert, DEFCON situation can have an effect, although this situation will not escalate to real manifestation of that threat.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think you had said in past reports that there's no nuclear war allowed on the planet. It's
Mhm.
not going to happen. Is that correct?
Yeah, I agree with that too.
Yes.
Okay. All right, James. Well, let me just ask Winston. Do you have any comments on anything thus far, Winston? We're going to get to the alien interview that we talked about in one of our reports in a minute. James, tell me a little bit more. How would you can confirm this? Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, well, you know what COBRA is talking about. They're monitoring this. They're monitoring all the nukes, everything, and they're not going to allow a nuclear exchange. And you know, you hear everybody freaking out and creating. You know, I think it's a lot about just creating the fear consciousness and bringing the energies down when they keep pushing these agendas, because they've got it. You know, no matter what they launch, they've told me over and over, no matter what they do, they've got it. They're monitoring everything, and even suitcase things. They know what's going down, so I don't think it's going to be a problem.
Winston, you had said that the Mayan calendar was actually off by 5 years, and that in fact this is the beginning of the shift in the paradigm. Can you explain that? And then I wanted to ask for the feedback from our other panelists about, you know, does that mean the game's changed? And so let me ask Winston about that.
Well, I just made that observation. I mean, I didn't try to read anything into it like some others have. I can't predict the future, but if you come to the end of one thing, then it's obvious you're going into something else. What that new paradigm would be, you know, we projected, you know, based upon what we expect to happen here shortly. And so, you know, as far as me being a prophet of the future or anything like that, anybody's guess is as good as mine, but with the expectation of what we are going into and the change and so forth. And, you know, some have been talking about a separation, others going to other planets and all kinds of different things. Whether that'll happen or not, I don't know. I personally believe it. I believe that it's necessary, you know, for two good reasons. Number one, you know, those who are operating at a high frequency are constantly being plagued by those who aren't. And then those who have come onto the planet simply for a third dimension experience are being influenced by those who are moving up in frequency. So you have a certain amount of polarity that needs to be rectified. So in my personal opinion, not prophecy, but my personal opinion, I believe that there's going to be a physical separation of those who would continue on in a third dimensional paradigm, but in a much, much better situation. And then there would need to be a segregation of those who are actually involved in moving up in frequencies and so forth. That's the way I see it.
Okay, Sheldon Neidl recently, of course, I'm going to refer to this. I usually don't, but this one was interesting. It was an important video because he was really going into the details of first contact and really like a timeline of not when it was going to start, but what was going to happen once it started. And I think, is that what you're referring to, Winston?
I'd love to talk about that if I could get a shot at. Let me
go for it.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, what happened is we used to keep time by the Caesars, and Mark Antony didn't become Caesar for 5 years. So we have a 5-year gap. in there, and they apply that Gregorian time to the Mayan calendar. They get it all mixed up all the time, and so there's a problem there. And the more you do research, the more confusing it gets. But if you add 5 years to the December 12th, you'd have 2017 December 21st or whatever, and that was when the big shift would, the shift would really hit the fan. And so, and we're in it. I mean, you can't deny the shift's hitting the fan right now on every level. And so it usually starts out with a lot of social economic things, like major shifts there. And then it moves down the frequencies into crazy weather, increase in volcanic and earthquake, all that stuff. And so there's a lot more science behind that, but I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you.
Let me pipe in just a moment, Louisa, and that is, we reckon things on linear time, and that's a bad mistake. If you really want to understand, what's going on, you have to start to reckon in event time, and that is when this event happens, then this can happen, and then this can happen, and then this can happen. So it really. Dates like December the 21st, whatever. It's inaccurate, and for us to use linear time, we need to start thinking about event time, and I think that'll make a whole lot more sense to people.
Yeah, I agree.
It was helpful to have that timeline, and I have to say that it's on that video. I can actually put that link in this description section. COBRA, are you familiar with that timeline that Sheldon Neidl? And I'll just give a little bit of a. There's going to be. Let me just get to the. There's like 4 main stages, and there's going to be first context scenario is first. There's going to be an announcement by the governments. It would be so easy if they just came out and said, okay, Roswell was real, and we kept it from you for whatever reason, but we did get fiber optics, we did get transistors, so humanity benefited from it, but they've always been here, and that's it. I mean, COBRA, why can't it just be that easy to just start disclosure that way?
It cannot be that easy simply because the cabal does not want it, because if that happens, if full disclosure happens, then it's over for them, because they will be exposed, and this phase, which I call full disclosure, and other people also call full disclosure, will happen at the time of the event. So revelations about Roswell, revelations about those technologies that were developed after Roswell, all this will be given to humanity at the time of the event. All that information will be out through TV networks free. But for this to happen, the cabal needs to be removed. Otherwise, it simply cannot happen.
It sounds like they're doing a drip-by-drip release of information now by putting videos out there, little bits. I mean, is that to control the narrative?
Yes, exactly. They want to spin the narrative, so they would like to present it in a certain way, like that.
Controlled manner.
Extraterrestrial life, it's all secret space programs, it's all the other factions. So now we have a certain trend in the United States when people are trying to expose one part of a certain faction as this is the whole cabal there is, which is of course not true, and this particular faction will be guilty of everything, and the rest of them are simply trying to remain under the radar and expose a few things and keep the rest. So this is their plan.
Okay,
and why this limited exposure, I would not even call it a disclosure, is happening. It is not the real thing yet.
No.
I mean, we do see, all right, but we do, it does seem like they're kind of hesitating to do that. But we do see President Trump at least trying to, and whoever's behind him and with him, trying to take care of the trafficking issue, which, is on and off planet from what I have read reports about. And, this is a good sign, though. I mean, he's making, look, there's reportedly over 10,000 indictments, and we also have, the most recent one that was unsealed has to do with uranium-1. So it's going very slow. I'll tell you, it's really like Chinese water torture for me. But what's Trump's role here now? I mean, what do you think, COBRA?
Basically, he's under influence of two factions: the good faction, and the bad faction. And the good faction has managed to convince him to fight against human trafficking, which is very good. But the negative action is still influencing him on his international policy, especially his stance against Iran. The Jesuits are planning war between Iran and Saudi Arabia. This is what they want. And he's playing along with that agenda. So he is still, I would say, he is not decided for one or the other camp. He is influenced by both.
He's kind of like a wild card, but he does have this, apparently this chess game going with Julian Assange. So is Julian Assange now an Ecuadorian national, and is he still in the UK? Do you know, or can you confirm that?
I will not comment on this because this is sensitive information. The only thing I would say is he is safe at the moment. And he's having many aces up his sleeve.
Okay, so we really don't. So first contact's not going to happen until but it just seemed like they're preparing Guantanamo Bay for the arrival of some of the cabal, which is all over the alternative news.
I cannot confirm that either. I would not confirm that information. I would say that the location where the cabal will be taken is undisclosed at the moment.
All right. Well, they're wearing the boots, right? They're wearing the electronic bracelets, so that's a good sign. Yes. Okay, good. And I also noticed in one of your other posts that COBRA's in progress, so compression breakthroughs in progress, and there's other things. You haven't posted that. I've never seen you post that before. You might have, but I've never seen it.
I have posted that before, but I would say yes, there is progress, and those boots are interesting because some people tend to wear it on one foot at a time and then change to the other foot. So.
Yeah.
Ambidextrous.
That's right.
Exactly.
Right. I can switch my injury from one foot to the other. That's how.
Kane's so talented.
Yeah. Well, it's let me ask KP about the energies. What's going on with the energies right now?
Oh.
And
why would you ask me about that?
Is this what you guys are talking about here? Is this
Yeah.
That's that's hilarious. Oh boy, I love that. Yes. Well, it's so funny because you mentioned the boots, and of course, we've seen all these different people in the boots and things like that. Is that what they mean by? Okay, not only we have the alliance, so we have boots on the ground, but it can also mean the stockings over the boots over the chimney.
One boot on the ground.
Yeah. No, one thing that happened, and it's just so. I mean, I love the synchronicity of all this. That I had no idea. I don't pay attention to everything and all day and every moment of every day. One thing I will say one thing about what Winston was talking about and James, that it's like no matter what the timeline is, take one moment at a time. We're living this timeless moment. This is a timeless moment. Becomes more timeless when you see boots hanging over the over the fireplace. But the one thing that's happened is that all of a sudden, and my role on this planet, one of the roles it seems like I've been given is to detect energies and then kind of connect with what's going on the planet. And my name, Kawila, means the lightning, and it can also mean electricity. So sometimes when I would go places, and do certain things, all of a sudden things would start sparking or lighting up. Now that's a different facet of this. But in my case here, it's like I'm feeling the energy I'm getting blasts of revelations. For the first time, I'd heard about this movie, American Made, which is about a guy named Barry, oh God, I want to say Barry White. Not Barry White. Barry, what's his name? What's his name? Barry Seal. Yeah, Barry Seal. Right, Barry Seal. Anyway, but it's a great movie. I really loved it. But David Wilcock mentioned it, and I felt it was mine to watch. So finally, it showed up for rental. I watched it on Amazon, and I just made a bunch of notes. Well, the whole thing was very entertaining and all this and all that, but it really helped to expose how the CIA operates and some of that. But the main thing, the first thing that that snapped in was around an hour and 20 minutes, was all of a sudden he's getting ready to be put into federal penitentiary for like 50 years or whatever. And the Arkansas district attorney gets a call from some governor of Arkansas that lets them off. So that was the first thing. And then I went back and went through that, and it was like all these different, there were one thing that maybe it's a minor thing and maybe it doesn't mean anything, but there were several references right out front. What were they always eating when groups got together? They were eating pizza. They were eating pizza. The other thing that happened along with this was that this led to someone telling me, you know, I love synchronicities. They're telling me about a video she had just watched, it was made like in the mid-90s, about Bill Clinton and his affairs. And not just his sexual affairs, but the whole explanation, fact by fact by fact. Provable fact, data fact, all this and all that. So that was another part of it. So I watched that, and it was like, I've never really been that interested in, I knew that there's a lot of nefarious stuff going on, but I've never felt interested in going in viewing things like that for that period of time. Well, yesterday, I'm trying to sleep, and I just can't get to sleep. And one thing that came up with this Gaia portal, a new Gaia portal, which says thoroughfares of energetic pathways have been cleared. And another statement in there is that higher levelers, you know, like maybe Thor's hammer, are succeeding in the hue being area. And one other line that kind of stood up: nocturnal living is finished. Living in the dark is done. But what happened with me, with all this stuff, I never get stuff about really the Clintons and all this kind of thing. Then all of a sudden this Hawaii thing happens. People are telling me about, oh, did you know he was over here? And then last night, I'm feeling this, I can't sleep. So I'm looking at Facebook on my phone, and all of it, you know, I'm getting like about 4 or 5 different, several references to Clinton this, Clinton that, Clinton's involvement in Haiti, and how all this and all. I won't say the specifics, but it was just like, they're blasting, to me, the energies right now are really blasting. They're kind of like blasting this out. These things are being blasted out into consciousness, the consciousness of those of us who can handle it and who can kind of allow it to come into the planetary energetic sphere, if you want to call it that. But okay. This hasn't happened to me before with the Clintons. Never.
Okay. Well, it's all coming out. I'm going to screen share another video that is from the SETI Ranch, and maybe James wants to explain what's going on here. Since I think, you know, COBRA, I think you would all agree, actually, that you really have to rely on alternative media in order to get disclosure. So let's see what this is about. Can you guys hear it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. This is cool, James.
Yeah, if you can
turn it up.
No, just fast forward it to where you first see the laser. Can you do that? Where we shoot the laser at it? This thing is it's almost 13, 14 miles away.
Yeah, it's a whole bunch of lights.
I should just put the.
It goes nuts when we shoot a laser at it.
Hold on a second. I have the timestamp on this.
Look how big that is.
2:11.
This is my first time.
Okay, I'm fast forwarding. That's a picture of the mountain.
Yeah, right about there. That's good. Just leave it there. So you can see the mountain in the background, and this is Mount Adams, and it has there's the laser we're shooting at it. It has a long history of UFO activity going back to Kenneth Arnold, who lost sight of the ship on the western slopes of Mount Adams. And the Native Americans all know about it, but we have incredible footage of a door opening on the mountain and ships going in and out constantly. There's a base underneath the mountain, which is kind of a Federation base. All the different groups are in there, and there's some inner Earth guys there too as well. So it's a very ancient it has a very ancient history to what's going on. But this ship was over a mile wide. It was too big to go through the door, so they had to land outside, outside the, just in front of the door. And so we got it on film, and there was 9 people present at the time, and then a whole nother group came in after that to witness this. But we have these things flying treetop level, responding to people on the ground, below treetop level communication. We're actually having the beings appear to us, and over at East Seti in Australia, they're having Pleiadians actually appear in their living room. Peter Slattery over there in East Seti, Australians in Solrita are having amazing contacts going on. So, and we have the photographs of that. So, when we get into this disclosure thing, we're going to put something out, and it's going to be called Real Disclosure. The unregulated version, or the uncontrolled version. I'm not sure what we're going to call it. The uncontrolled narrative.
Cut.
Yeah. And we're going to show all this, the footage, the photos, everything. And actually Sean Hannity sent a group out, and he came out a long time ago, 2 or 3 years ago, but they sanitized it, but it was pretty good. And I got to debunk the debunkers on there, which was great. But we've had a lot of famous people come out and do. Danny Dyer, Robbie Williams, the famous pop star. All these guys have come out and done specials. And the ships came and appeared exactly when and where we said they would, with the cameras rolling. So, we've had contacts for 30 years there, and contacts been going on since before the Egyptians. So when people keep saying, when are they going to come? When are they going to contact us? My thing is, when are you going to rise to the occasion? When are you going to do the research? Because it's been going on for a long time. And I think it's very soon we're going to see so many ships in the sky that the real disclosure is going to come from them. And it's nothing to fear. The stuff that was already here is the stuff that we need to be wary of, and that's all being cleaned up. But they're going to control this narrative, and the same people are involved. They have just a new actor, and they're all behind this, and it's and they're controlling the narrative. And we want to take it to the next level and say, look, there's some extremely spiritually and technologically advanced beings involved in this. Why are you not covering this? Why aren't you tying this into our ancient ancestors, the terraformers that were first here? Give people the real history of Earth and tie this all together. And we're going to bring that information out, because it's getting beyond. I get so tired of the controlled narrative, and people buy it and they buy into it, and then they twist it at the end. They make it. They're coming here to turn you into human pilaf. They're going to enslave you, control you. And I said, well, you're already enslaved. There's nowhere to go up. Go then up right now. So there's not a lot to lose. But we just have to get out of that old paradigm, that old narrative, and realize that this is a golden opportunity to reunite with the greater family of man, and bring in these new healing technologies, these fearless energy technologies, and become a spacefaring race, not just orbit space, but we're talking jumping dimensions, basically way beyond what most people think.
Clearly, we need to have this technology. We need to definitely bring that up, but that would definitely boost humanity pretty quickly, wouldn't it, Winston?
It's already here. I already know where it is. It's already here. It's right. Just we tried to bring it out in the 90s, and oh man, we had shotguns in our faces, labs blowing up, everything. So it just wasn't time yet.
Pushback.
It's already here. We have that technology right now. It's just a matter of clearing the way for it.
Let me ask COBRA a question. COBRA, there haven't been, maybe I missed it, but there hasn't really been any updates on the progress of the clearing the Chimera. Do you have an update on that?
The clearing is ongoing, but I will not give an update until certain things happen. So, yes, there is progress, but I cannot say more at the moment. The top-level bombs are being removed every day. There is steady progress. And when there is something that I can report on, I will report on.
Okay, and is mass meditation still helping to speed this up, or?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, I've got a quick question, if you don't mind me asking.
Go ahead. No, go right ahead.
And we've been experiencing, the low-level stuff too. We've been clearing that out, and there are techniques to clear out the malevolent grays and reptilians and serpent beings and some of these other ones. But we've got some new kids on the block that they're hybrids, and they're kind of alien reptilian hybrids and things like that. And I had one appear to me. He was very tall. He was blue-skinned, and he had horns, these thick horns. And I go, who in the hell are these guys? I'm wondering if those are the Chamara that you've been talking about. It's a new group, and I'm curious what these guys look like. Maybe COBRA can give us a description of what.
Chamara don't look like that. They look like ordinary human beings because they need to melt in the rich population, so they are not anything closer to that.
You ever seen anything like that? It's a new kid on the block, and they pack a punch. We had to really get them out. It wasn't easy to move them on.
Yeah, they're present for quite some time, but they are not very common.
Yeah.
All right, let me just see if anyone has any questions right up to this point, because I want to screen share something that's going to take us into a little bit different direction. Go ahead, Winston.
Well, I was going to, make a comment about disclosure, again, because we have the variation of souls on the planet with a variety of experiences. The question is how much of the disclosure ought to be given to just everyone. And I would suspect if we do have this separation soon, that might solve that problem. Hopefully. But also I wanted to go back on some of the comments. I keep hearing this word Trump. And let me suggest that he is just doing what he is being told to do by the military. And so he's the guy we put everything on. But let me explain to you, he's not running anything. He's not running anything. And also, I wanted to just quickly, Barry Seals was brought up to kind of spark my interest a little bit. Barry Seals lives in Costa Rica. What you see happening publicly, like this, for instance, Barry Seals supposedly got shot to pieces and all kinds of things. That was most likely a clone, because the real asset that they're holding on to, the cabal or the CIA, whatever you want to call them, they do hold on to those originals. For instance, if you like the street address of Saddam Hussein in Costa Rica, I could probably get it for you, and you could go visit with him. But what you see, hopefully this will come to an end here pretty quick. But these assets like Barry Seals, Saddam Hussein, and this redheaded kid that supposedly blew up the Murray building, they're all in Costa Rica. At last I heard, they might have gotten rid of them, but now I hope. But in any event, what happens publicly is not really not what's going on. Anyway, I just wanted to interject those things. I was kind of taking notes as we went along, so I thought I'd throw those things in there. But I keep hearing Trump. It's not. He's doing what he's told to do.
Okay, well, we're going to move on to something, and
okay.
I can't wait to have some comments on this. What I'm sharing with you here is well, let me just go right to the bottom, and I'm going to show you who published this. I'm not going to go through the whole document, but I highlighted a few things. This is by Merck and Company out of White House Station, New Jersey. This is an insert for a vaccination, but not for humans. Excuse me. I was going to start. Okay, this is referring to a vaccination. This was a classified document at one time. It is in the public domain at this time. This is referring to Ketrel, which is a virus of some kind, and the Kede virus. This is very, I want people to realize you're going to hear something for the very first time that you've ever heard. That our pharmaceutical companies are actually the Department of Defense. Actually runs a section of Merck Pharmaceuticals that manufactures vaccinations for cyber bots, cybernetics, and different kinds of extraterrestrials. This is pharmacology, ET pharmacology. And I just wanted to show this, and then I wanted to ask each of our panelists for their feedback on this. This talks about the impact of Ket B these vaccinations on the diseases of OW, off-world, and OP, off-planet programs that can quantify, whatever they're talking about. It's a technical thing. They're talking about off-world studies of these units. They're calling them. They're calling ket-neg. So these are Ketrel negative, so they're negative for the virus units. So they're not talking about people, they're talking about some kind of cybernetic unit that's going on here. They're talking about, let me just go real quick, a study of 10 and 20-year-old unit bind to vaccine Hedgie fibers, which are these, it's like the Morgellons, those fibers that come, it's the same, and what I understand, it's in the same family.
It's a carrier.
Yeah, and so, they're like a synthetic central nervous system, or it's an it's a system of conductivity. There's some evidence to suggest that units who are assembled off-world and off-planet who have aggressive Ket B are vaccinated, sustain antibody levels, and are later revaccinated. But one of the things I wanted to, there's obviously a committee that is in charge of this. It's called the Advisory Committee on Off-World, Off-Planet Practices. There's also a reference to, like, if it's a pregnant female, they're referring to alphas. I don't know exactly what the definition of the alphas are, but there's also zetas, and there's they're talking about susceptible groups here, and also they're also talking about all units, drones, and alphas assembled after 1999 are considered susceptible and should be vaccinated. So I just wanted to bring up the terminology that's being used here. And then when we go down for a little bit further, we just see that, don't give this vaccine to pregnant alphas. If pregnancy should be avoided for 3 decades following vaccination. This is a long life, expectancy of this unit, whatever this is. And then, it's talking about receiving cybernetics replacement therapy for limb replacement in individuals and things like that. This is huge. I mean, this is the technology. We're talking about limb replacement, but they can do it for these cybernetic units. So this is a very huge disclosure right here that we're doing right now. They're talking about human alpha, zeta, immunodeficiency viruses and things like that. Clearly, we're not talking about humans. Here we're also talking about, units.
Clone
and
Zeta Bs.
Yeah, units and clones Zeta Bs who are known to be infected, blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, however, transmission of this vaccine virus to alpha via human meat has been documented. So this is talking about these units eat humans. This is a human meat diet, and there's a susceptibility that they have. This is the reality. This is, how this whole transhumanism, and now we're going to get into a little bit of AI and how this is crossing over. But this is just something I wanted to show you that exists and was at one point classified, and this has been in the public domain. So let me first start with COBRA. Do you have any comments on this?
Yes, actually, pharmaceutical companies have been involved in certain, I would say, off-planet programs, especially since the Archon invasion in 1996. The peak of that research was happening between 1996 and 2001. And many vaccines were developed that were targeting not non-human populations. And all major pharmaceutical companies have, I would say, black projects, black departments, that were not only limited to the surface of the planet, that had access to the military network of underground bases, where there was a lot of experimentation of those vaccines. For more detailed comments, I would need to read the document that you have presented, and I could make specific comments.
Okay, very good. James, did you have any comments? Yeah.
Again, I would like to read the documents and read the whole thing, but
Okay.
I know there's so much going on every level, especially with the vaccines. They have Nagales in them, which totally destroys your ability to create vitamin D, which destroys your immune system. They've got thimerosal. Just you touch a nerve cell, a brain cell with thimerosal, it's done. It's all these things, the detergents, monkey viruses, everything. You can go start at that level and just take it up the line. And a lot of that ties into a lot of the chemtrails and the total dominance. They just want total dominance, which, turns us into like good old, neutered zombie robots, basically, is what they're going for. And, and that's one thing I would really press. I think people need to press more than anything is to stop these programs, because if we don't stop these programs, nothing else is going to matter. And I think, once the assets are being seized, once as they start seizing these guys' assets, they're not going to be able to fund these programs, hopefully, and that's the direction it's going to go in. But, they're still spraying the hell out of us.
I need to say something here. Those programs are not financed with the surface population's finances. They are financed for the black projects, and also some of them are not financed directly because they are tied to underworld complexes that are self-sufficient and are actually breakaway. So that needs to be taken into consideration here.
Okay, but is this part of the transhumanist agenda too? I mean, I was just a little shocked when I came across this and saw that our own earthly pharmaceutical companies were engaging in this. The ones that we may take our own, we have medicines in our own medicine cabinet, and here, this is just, to me, this is kind of huge, but, okay, it's part of the whole process, but, the Morgellons, the fibers and things like that, this is, what does this say about that, COBRA, of this whole AI, this animus, this whole artificial intelligence thing, and are we going to get a hold of this?
The life forces have technology to completely erase AI. As soon as the toplet bombs are removed, they will also deal with that. So it's not a big problem from their perspective. Of course, people have valid fears because without intervention of the light forces, these could pose a huge problem. And the most simple form of AI invasion are the smartphones. Especially the younger generations are completely addicted to the smartphones. And this is how this can hijack human consciousness. So this is where I would start first to awaken the younger population about releasing and removing the addiction to the smartphones, and instead of that, making real and meaningful human connections. That would be the antidote to this.
How could we possibly do that, COBRA? Because it's, through my own experience, it's very difficult. It's like crack. It's like a drug. These kids they can't get off. No, really, they can't get off it. And their whole social, as you know, the whole social world is built around this virtual reality now.
Simply to presenting information to those from the younger generation that are open to it, and they will then spread it in their own way among their friends.
Okay.
Oh, gee, I don't know about that. Okay. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this and how CERN plays a role in this whole artificial intelligence. Let me ask James. You've had many attacks at your ranch. You seem to be doing good too, because there was a time when I was listening to your radio show. I'm like, wow, his like life energy seems. They're just really attacking him. But you sound good. You seem to recover. They've used all kinds of weaponry, and I don't think they even need to physically be there anymore. I mean, you and I have had a talk, and Winston's been trying to also help me because, and Steve, we've all been attacked by this. What is it? This scalar weapon. So COBRA, I know, could go into detail about that, but let me ask James first about what's going on with this and how is it tied in to the AI?
Well, one of the things that I was dealing with, which was very intense, was they actually weaponized a yellow tree fungus and a green mold, and doctors aren't looking for this, and people have it all throughout their system, and it's it's airborne. It's coming from the chemtrails. And once I got that out of my system, everything else started changing. And I'm using a lot of extreme technology like Brown's gas and ozone. I ozonated the blood, did all that stuff. There's the spa I work with right now has everything from stem cells to you name it. But I had to go through a lot of different things, and I got a lot of help from the higher dimensional beings. They kept putting me back together. But we had everything from black helicopters flying over on a regular basis to pulsing us, shutting down everything. I had a radio show with Laura Eisenhower, and right in the middle of the show, a helicopter flew right over and had a big metal bell on the back of it, and they hit the switch and pulsed us. And luckily, I kind of prepared for that. I have certain things in place to block that. But even with that, it knocked everything. It shut everything down, and I walked out trying to figure out who I was for a minute. They scramble you a little bit. But you know, they're using satellites, they're using everything. They're everything under the sun, basically. And I had a guy here that was working, I can't mention his name, but he's like a signatory for a lot of the gold that's moving and things like that, a very high level person. And they come to the ranch quite a bit, and a lot of the top people are very involved in the higher dimensional aspects of it. And he gets a phone call while he's there, and he goes, "Where are you? You know, where are you?" And he goes, "I'm at the East City Ranch." He says, "We know." He goes, we know, but he goes, "That's the most monitored place on the planet," you know, like this, and which I consider a compliment. But it was funny. But what he said was, it was kind of hilarious. He said, "You know," he goes, "You know, that place is totally monitored, you know." And he said, "Yes." And then he goes, "Well, what's he telling you?" He goes, what's he saying? You know, so they're extremely interested in all of this stuff. A lot of these guys have their own contacts going on. They come and they get hooked up. They have their own guidance. And so, you know, this is a huge event going on. It's a trans-dimensional war, and it involves a lot of higher dimensional beings coming in and people on the ground that are hooked into those beings. It's a huge picture, and you know, I think that's why they sanitize it. Whenever I go on Hannity or any of the other things, they have to really sanitize it because people just aren't ready for the big picture. It's too beyond their comprehension.
Well, it's not beyond ours. I think, you know, they can start. We didn't, you know, flip out and go crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let me just ask, Winston, did you want to comment on anything that we've said thus far that we haven't, that we covered?
No, not really.
Well,
I think if people just keep, you know, a balance, you know, I mean, if something happens and you go sideways that way, then try to come back to center and ground yourself. Because, you know, people are getting hit all the time with all kinds of strange things. And so again, you know, as far as your spirituality, you know, come back to center, get grounded, and then certainly, physically speaking, in your body, if you can maintain a balanced pH, then a lot of these things won't be able to get a foothold. So, you know, there's things you can do, you know, without a great deal of technology, but just, you know, balance, I think.
Strong immune system.
Right. I'm going to screen share another document that Winston shared with me, and this is from the alien interview, and this is the symbol of what was referred to as the domain. I'm not sure if COBRA has ever heard of this. Are you familiar with this, COBRA?
I heard about it, yes. Okay,
can you verify, is this authentic, that this was actually this is a domain expeditionary force? Do you know them? Are you familiar with them? Are they part of the Confederation?
I did not have any contact with those particular beings, but they were mentioned a few times.
Were they like Greys or Zetas, or what were they?
That's a separate, I would say, separate race, not Zetas, not Greys.
Okay. The way that she described it seemed like maybe it could be. And do you know whether they, are playing a role in this right now?
There was a big restructuring taking place, and many of the races that were before against the light have joined the light. I don't have the latest update about this particular situation, but I would say many races that were before part of the Dark Alliance have joined the Light Forces recently. So it's a big change happening, and things are not as they were reported even a few years ago.
Okay, let me ask Winston, do you want to comment on this while we're talking about this?
Yeah, apparently this entity had come down on one of the ships at Coronado or wherever it's at.
The crash.
Yeah, the crash. You know, the Roswell thing was just a blasted pieces all over the place, but the actually intact ships were brought down, and she was a pilot of one of those. And also, like I say, I have personal contact who was apparently the first one on the scene. But what I got the impression from this whole interview was not that they were basically concerned about what goes on the Earth. They didn't really care. The only thing they cared for was one of their groups. I think about 3,000 of them had been captured here and held, and that was their only real concern. And so certainly if you read through this interview, like I explained on that thing we did, this entity called Errol was simply posturing because she knew who was listening. It was the empire in the form of military officers, blah, blah, blah. So she was just she was just telling them stuff that she wanted them to hear. That's all she was doing. Because when they would ask her certain questions about, that might have military applications, she simply wouldn't answer them. And then finally they tried to capture her and she just took off. So again, in regards to this is an anomalous happening. I mean, I don't think that it actually pertains to what we got going on with the Federation and all those kind of things. But I think I just brought that interview in just to show some different things, that people might be interested in. But no, I don't think what was going on with Errol and all that kind of thing had anything to do with the Galactic Federation, with the exception that, based upon that craft that came down, they were able to back engineer and come up with a whole lot of technology. That's about it.
Does anybody have any questions thus far for anyone or anything we've spoken about on the panel so far?
Well, sure, yeah. About the transhumanism. I mean, how dangerous is this for us? Is it AI that's trying to merge technology with humans? Is it another agenda, another alien race maybe that's doing this? What is this? Does anybody have any comments?
How about COBRA?
Yeah.
Okay, I would say that the Archon invasion in '96 brought a lot of this so-called AI technology here to the planet, and it is operated by Chimera Group. And when the Chimera Group is removed, all this will be removed. So yes, there is an active transhumanist agenda in place, but this agenda will be interrupted with the arrival of the light.
So it's not a threat to us in reality?
No.
And is this linked to cryptocurrencies as well?
Can you repeat that again?
Is that linked to cryptocurrencies?
Actually, cryptocurrencies were developed as a part of this, but lately the resistance movement had to intervene and join in the process to prevent misuse of those technologies. So the resistance movement will take over blockchain technology at the time of the event.
So you wrote that there was a backdoor to these, say to Bitcoin and all these altcoins that are based on that platform, Ripple included. Is that still a reality?
The backdoors are there because the backdoors are in every computer and
Intel chips.
Intel chips, software, hardware, backdoors, keystroke loggers, everything. So whenever you type anything into your computer, it is monitored. And all transactions can easily be tracked through that. And the resistance movement had created their own backdoors, positive ones, which will not be detected. However, anybody can...
The backdoors and the backdoors.
Yeah.
Let me ask... I'm sorry, let me ask KP. I'm sorry, Cobra, were you finished?
Can I just finish this? So when the event happens, they will take over the whole blockchain network around the planet. And so if you have a crypto investment anywhere, it will be safe. It will be safe at the time of the event. I cannot guarantee what will happen before the event with cryptocurrencies, but at the time of the event, whatever you have will be kept intact.
I want to cover a little bit that later after KP.
All right, okay, go ahead, KP. I know.
I just had actually, I guess it's more pointed to COBRA, but I watched a couple, I watched the Gaia shows and Gaia TV shows, and one of them was about deep space, and they were talking about the moon. And essentially the gist of that one episode was that the moon is essentially, was in somehow, I don't know if it was somehow converted into a massive computer, an AI computer. And that when this, people always talk about the solar flash, when the big flash happened, and perhaps that means that's I don't know necessarily if that is an event, but what will happen is that will wipe out, like wiping out a hard drive. Is that correct? Do you know about that? About the moon being used as like a big AI computer to keep us in
Moon, okay, there's all kinds of bad rumors about the moon. I love the moon. I was there the last time in 1983. It was a wonderful place. I don't know about the dark bases there. Of course, they existed, but I would say that there are many bases of the light forces there. The negative space programs have mostly been removed, and the moon is not an artificial artifact. It is not an AI computer. It's a natural object that has been put in the certain special and resonant orbit by, I would say, the central race billions of years ago. It is orbiting around the planet Earth in this very special orbit, which makes it very interesting because at the solar eclipse, the angular diameter of the moon is exactly the same.
It's the side of the sun.
That was simply amazing. And it is a portal which allows a lot of light to be channeled towards the planetary surface. It is true that a solar flash, which will happen at the time of the event as a result of the galactic central sun flash, will wipe out the AI network around the planet. This is what I can agree with.
Yeah. Will it be like an EMP?
A certain kind of EMP, but not the. It will not be exactly the same as EMP because there will be a higher dimensional aspect to this, which is not currently explained in mainstream science.
Different frequencies.
Okay.
Combined with electrical aspect of EMP, there will be some strong subatomic particles that which will contribute to the process, and there will be the plasma aspect of this and the higher dimensional aspect of this as well.
Interesting.
Okay, James, let me go to James. I think did you have a comment?
Yeah, I did. One thing about what's really interesting, like Cobra was saying about the Bitcoin and the other things, the origin of that, and what I saw, a lot of the energy around that, and even unfortunately with a lot of disclosure things, when you look at the beings standing behind these people, I keep seeing like reptilian or hybrids or things like that. It's very sad, but if you're sensitive, you can pick that energy up. But one of the things that they're really focusing on, the Archon Network and the other guys, is trapping us into the first three chakras, which are survival, sex, and power. And so you've got the music industry, the movie industry, all those guys are, really trapping us into that materialism, and creating a religion around that, basically. And a lot of times when I see a lot of these Bitcoin things and the people that are really pushing it, when I tune into their energies, I feel those other influences at play there. It's very intense. And I've had those guys come after me, when I did kind of was on to them, then those guys started coming after me. But but I think these things are getting infiltrated by the higher beings, and they are seeing where things are going. And they're the ones in control. The higher dimensional beings are the ones that are really in control. They're dealing with consciousness and light and energy. And, these other guys are playing around in the material world, so it's a no-win situation, whatever they try to do to enslave the masses. But our whole thing is we've got to get back into the heart and the upper dimensions, the upper chakras. And when you're coming from the heart, you can feel and sense the energies around these things, and they don't affect you. You can just say, I'm not going there, or I'm not going to hook up with this program or this program. And then the more we develop our own inner sensitivity, we can start sensing the energy around certain things and go, this is maybe 10% accurate, and this is maybe 20. And then you get the twist. They might have 80% accuracy with a 20% twist that they want to take in their direction. So it's so important right now for people to rise up, get into the heart and the upper dimensions, and develop your own inner sensitivity, your own BS meter, so you can see through, what's happening. And we have the ability to bring the source right down through our crown and through the heart into every situation, and blast these energies out. And we just forgot who we are. And these higher dimensional beings aren't coming here to be worshipped, and they're not coming here to take care of us and fix everything. They're here to empower us, to teach us to lead ourselves.
Well said.
That's beautiful. I want to also screen share this video, Cobra, that accompanied your last post as well, and you might want to describe this for our viewers. This was the link on your last post. I'm not going to play it. I'm just I guess this is just a message. It's just a message, I guess. Are you there, Cobra?
Yes, I'm here.
Where'd you go? Yeah. So can you explain what's this link about? I mean, I didn't really want to play the whole thing unless you want me to.
This link is about this Operation Mjolnir, the Operation the Hammer of Thor, and it includes certain coded messages about the operation. It involves coded messages about this, I would say, interdimensional cosmic war is happening in the sublunar space and in near Earth orbit right now.
Okay, so like this is coded messages and things like that.
Yes.
They runes down there, runes, and it was Swedish, was it?
Look, this is a grid. Is this representing the electromagnetic grid? This is the quarantine. Is that what that represents?
Yes.
Okay, and how far are we in what's the progress on removing that quarantine? That will happen at the time of the event, or
this quarantine will be removed at the time of the event. And now this intergalactic, and I would say interdimensional war that is happening is actually dismantling of the quarantine, different layers, different technologies which are enabling the quarantine, different secret space program fleet, Rocco fleet, all those things are being dismantled right now.
And a few of these videos, Cobra, use these graphics. Are those graphics real? Are they, or they just generated it for the sake of the video?
This is generated. At this point, there are very few genuine images from beyond the quarantine. It is simply not allowed.
Oh.
okay. Well, I do have some other.
Okay, I have 15 minutes more, so if we can finish in 15 minutes, that okay?
We'll close up. That would be wonderful. Thank you, Cobra. Okay, let's go and talk about a little bit.
Wait a second. Let me get into something here.
Sure, go ahead, Winston.
Because again, first off, Bitcoins and all of these cryptocurrencies are not authorized. They have absolutely no surety behind them. They are not underwritten by the collateral accounts. So they, in my estimation, they are very, very dangerous and should be avoided. Again, you run into the problem of unearned money, which has absolutely no backing behind it, either in substance or in labor. It's absolutely a phony currency, not authorized.
Okay, does anybody want to comment on that?
Well, one thing that I've noticed is that all the Bitcoin commercials and everything else, they're always walking around saying, look at my yacht, look at my Ferrari, look at my giant house and everything else. And I'm going, well, if you guys are progressive and thinkers, why don't you say, hey, look, I just put a well in for this village that didn't have water. I just put bathrooms in for these guys. Where is that? You're just not seeing it. And
Right.
it's, again, they're just trapping everybody in this material consciousness. And there's nothing wrong with having nice things, but it's kind of hard to have nice things when other people
Suffering.
are suffering. And so when I see these things, I don't know, it kind of irritates me because these guys are very trapped in their egos and their personality selves and things like that. And if you're given this abundance, what are you doing with it? There's a lot of people out there that could be using some help.
Yeah,
Well,
the first question is, are Bitcoins and the cryptocurrencies Basel III compliant, yes or no? The answer is no.
Mm-hmm.
They're a phony currency. And if people keep getting involved in all that kind of stuff, they're going down a rabbit hole. And that, people get mad at me for saying these kind of things. But again, that's why we did all these GoldFish Country Road reports, is to explain to people the proper way, for all these things to happen. And Bitcoin is not the proper way for it to happen. It's not authorized. It's not Basel III compliant. There's no surety behind it. It's absolutely phony.
Yeah, do something good with it. Get out and do something good with it.
Yeah.
Well, look,
I think
go ahead,
the other thing
Kate. Go ahead, Kate.
The other thing is one short thing is that everybody, just as COBRA, I'm sure would agree with, or say that we each have to follow our own guidance, and Yeah, I know somebody here who's got into Bitcoin a little bit, but it was like, they also may have bought gold and silver and other things as a sort of just to have sort of a portfolio of
Insurance.
different ways of doing things. But hey, you could also just grow, grow beets or yams or something like that and share it with your neighbors. I really feel, and I totally agree with James about, coming from the heart, and not just the upper heart, but the solar plexus heart, where we are following our inner guidance about where we are to be, what we are to do, no matter what kind of stuff that comes into our lives. It's like, I never felt drawn so far. I have not felt drawn to get into the Bitcoin or any kind of cryptos yet, but I've seen people who are into it very much, and it seems like they have a little bit of ego going on there. And it's like, well, you better not take away my effing Bitcoins, or you can't do that. You better not tax my so-and-so Ethereums, But anyway, in the end, we're going, as James, I know, talks about, we're going towards the heart. So anyway, I will mute.
No, that's okay. We need to change these. We need policy, though. We need treaties. And I know at least two of you on this panel are on councils. So why don't we start talking about the treaties and how are they going to change? What are they going to look like? What are these treaties holding us back? Let me start with COBRA.
Which treaties are you talking about?
Well, the treaties, let's say, the Ashtar Command has to have a treaty with the reptilians on the planet, no?
No, the so-called non-interference is a myth, is a disinfo that was spread around a lot. The light forces will intervene. They're not bound with any laws or treaties. They are not making treaties with the dark forces in that manner. The only thing they care about is the well-being of humanity. And as long as humanity is taken hostage, they need to be careful in freeing the hostages, not to trigger the top-level bombs, for example. This is the only thing that's holding them back. Otherwise, they would simply land today.
Well, exactly. Some are shot down, but it seems like you said you were on the moon not long ago.
Oh, that was in 1983. That's a long time ago.
But you're like coming and going, so you're not shot down. So how can you come and go, or like?
No, that was so long time ago. The situation back at that time was completely different. There were some. It is much more difficult now since '96 to go anywhere.
I see. But in our last interview, you screen shared a picture. We were talking about the firmament and things like that. And you said that your team had just taken a photo the day before that, and you screen shared.
That was an unmanned probe that went to the near space.
That's not shot down? They're not going to shoot that down?
No, they didn't shoot that down. Actually, I would say the first experiment that we did in near space was done in collaboration with NASA, and they did sabotage that. They did shut down that vehicle, and it was the only, the first and the last time they tried to do it, because the resistance really got angry, and the bad guys received a very strict warning not to ever do that again.
What's with the warnings? At some point there's like a red line drawn, and you just have to. I know. Good thing I'm not in charge. But anyway, what about the this Falcon 9 SpaceX rocket, COBRA? What can you tell us about that?
What do you want to know about this space rocket?
Was it malevolent? Was there something malevolent or something benevolent on it? Was it?
Okay, I cannot. This is sensitive. I cannot comment on this. I would just say there are many launches that were taking place in the last week or two, and some of them are having some positive involvement. I will not say which one is, which one no.
Okay, is the CIA in control of North Korea? Can you confirm that or no?
The Jesuits are controlling North Korea.
Jesuits are okay. So North Korea. So Kim Jong-un is really not in control of North Korea. There's some shadow government.
I would say he's manipulated in thinking that he's the one in charge, but actually he has handlers.
Rocket Man. Okay. Does anybody want to comment on these?
Sorry, Saudi Arabia has been knocked out by the Jesuits as well at the moment. Is that correct?
I would say they have just thrown one faction under the bus. They have thrown the ones that are behind 9/11, and they were arrested, but they were arrested by Academy, who are mercenaries under control of famous Prince, Eric Prince, who is a Jesuit and Knights of Malta agent.
Is that Al-Walid? Is that Prince Al-Walid?
No, Eric Prince is.
Oh, Eric Prince. Oh, I'm
Eric
sorry.
Prince,
I thought,
yeah.
no, I didn't hear you say. Very good.
His people, when they're arrested, actually, he is the one behind the whole thing. The Jesuits orchestrated this.
Wouldn't the Bushes be thrown under the bus too? Sorry.
The reason, I will just finish this. The reason for this was they wanted a faction that will be against Iran. And they have, since then, you can see the escalation of tension between Saudi Arabia and Iran. It started exactly on the day of those arrests.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to start working out our closing comments now. We're going to go through each of our panelists, and we're going to ask you, this has been an interesting, really wonderful, I have to say thank you all for joining us today. It's been a really wonderful interview and very information-packed, and I really hope that you'll all come back and join us again. But I want to ask each of our panelists to please, what would you like to leave in this topic, the things that we covered, maybe things we didn't cover? If there's anything you wanted to talk about that we didn't get to talk about, please make a comment and then and add any closing comments that you have. And I'm going to start with James Gilliland.
Yeah, the main thing I think right now that's really relevant is don't buy into the the controlled narrative that keeps resurfacing. Keep holding their feet to the fire and demand the big picture. What's really going on. And we really need to do some research into our origins. And once we really know our true origins and the real history of Earth, then we can start getting a grip on things. And the religions and all the cultural boundaries, all of this stuff starts falling away. And basically, it's nice meeting COBRA for the first time. And, it's great to be on a panel with them. I've got a lot of other questions. We'll have to do this again because I have a few other questions to verify.
I agree.
That we're getting, but it's to me it's hang in there. It's don't get into despair. Don't get upset. Things are really moving in a good direction. They're happening a little slower than a lot of us would like to see them happen, but they are going to happen. And it's going to be one step back, two steps forward. But you can't stop what's coming. It's too big. It's beyond even the dark heart's comprehension of what's coming. So, hang in there. It's going to be awesome. And there's going to be chaos because when the energy comes in, it does create a little chaos as part of the healing process. And so don't get upset about that. And, basically make your own personal connection with Source, Creator, Great Spirit, whatever you want to call it. That's the main thing is go internal right now. We really need to go internal and stop getting thrown all over the place by all these external events right now.
Thank you, James. It was a pleasure having you on GoldFish Report. It really was. And I can't wait to have you come back again.
Absolutely.
And COBRA, let me ask COBRA, is there anything that we discussed that you have comments on or anything you wanted to comment on that we didn't discuss? And if not, then could you just leave our viewers with some kind of, I'm looking always for a positive message at the end here because we're all being slammed, as you mentioned in your recent post just today, that the light workers and light warriors are really getting hammered. Yes, we can all verify that. So, COBRA, what would you like to leave our viewers with today?
I would completely agree with James that this change that is happening is so huge, so beyond everything that you could possibly imagine, that when this is over, it's really over, and we're going to have such a wonderful time. So it's worth keep pushing until we get there. Hold the light until we get there, because when this is finally over, it will be the best time of our lives ever. And if you want to have confirmation that all this is real, you can visit James' ECT ranch, if he agrees, of course, because then you can get evidence. There is real contact happening there. There is a real underground base under that mountain, and there is a real Confederation portal opening there, and ships from our star friends are showing themselves to people that would need that confirmation.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. Yeah, is that a Pleiadian color, by the way? Is that or is it like, is there that color green? I mean, I've actually seen a ship that was green that color.
Yeah, that's a night vision.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, the Pleiadians can manifest their ships in different colors, but for that particular, actually you can see a ship during the night or night vision goggles, which are usually green. The color you have black and green. But if you see a ship during the daytime, which is also possible, you would be able to see various colors, or even metallic white, metallic blue, violet, green, all those kinds of colors. So again, I would like to thank everybody for this interview and Victory of the Light.
Thank you very
The
much.
light, Cobra. Let me go to Quila Pele with just another minute, and then we're going to close up. KP, can you give us any final comments, anything that we didn't talk about, or anything that you wanted to comment on? And then what would you like to leave our viewers with today?
Well, there's no particular topics that I wasn't interested in, or the extra things to add. I think a lot of it is, you know, the energies are very, you can call them apocalyptic, but they're really exposing all the things going on, which is fine. You can either freak out or not freak out. But remember that, I like to remember that for myself, I know I've experienced that things are continuing to be exposed within me. So, oh, I just woke up to this, I just woke up to that. Yeah. So I guess the bottom line is that, you know, continue to look within, like James is saying. Give yourself permission, once you see these things, to let go. Just let go and ask the universe to help you let go. Allow yourself to wake up. Even though you think you've woken up, there's more waking up to go. Stay in the moment. I'm reading this now. And follow your own inner guidance. That's the bottom line for me. One moment at a time.
Thank you, KB. That's excellent advice. It's not the easiest thing to do, but it's excellent advice. So thank you. It was good to see you back on GoldFish Report again, KP. I know we'll see you again. And Winston, is there anything that you wanted to comment on thus far, and then, or anything you would like to leave our viewers with, or on this topic?
Just real quick, the word hammered was used. You're not being hammered at your strength. You're being hammered at your weakness, which is a real opportunity for discovery. And so when you find yourself being hammered, just know that's one of your weak spots. That's something you need to work on. And the term reversals, you have to do the reversals. Sometime we'll have a chance to explain that. But if you want to change the world, first change yourself. And that's about it for me. Thanks. Hey, thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks, Winston. It was good to see you. I'll see you Friday for our next Country Roads. And Steve,
okay.
Let me ask Steve, I know that you didn't have much...
No, I got lost at the beginning with the technology here, but I wanted to talk about technology. This was a great panel. This was very short, of course, and there's so many more questions I wanted to ask. But I think for me, looking at the situation update from COBRA, I agree. Looking at the youth that's around me, please help your children or help the youth around you to get off the technological crack. Help them to interact with people around them, real people, not just on the telephones or the smartphones. That's all I'd like to say. Let COBRA go.
Thanks, Steve. No, it's absolutely true. And I just wanted to thank all of you. Please, it was just a wonderful conversation. And of course, we have to do this again because the time was short. It went by very quickly. And I try to give everybody, you know, a balanced, chance to really contribute. I hope I've done that. I just want to thank you all very, very much for being here. And we will do this again. And I just want to let our viewers know that there's going to be some links to the things that I shared in the description section. And we will be back for another, continuing the Uniting the Light. And like COBRA says, you know, hold the light and victory of the light. And this concludes this edition of the GoldFish Report.